Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to League of Europe. We are here tonight for two races indeed, and we are here, of course, for the French Grand Prix. It is round number 8 of the championship for the sprint and feature race from the Circuit Paul Ricard in the Castellet in France. Bonjour, Madame et Monsieur, and l'Europe and whatever else. I am James Head, of course. I'm going to be taking you through the stream as always on a Saturday night. And joining me in the commentary box is a, shall we say, 50% QVR Killer Blue. Killer, how you doing? That is a good way, I think, to put off the start of what could potentially happen tonight, of course, in France. Montana, though, did take the race win last week, of course. I think we were, of course, in Britain last week at Silverstone. Montana took the win. Campbell there in second, Izza there in third. In the end, it was quite hard fought, I've got to be honest, for the AlphaTauri man. Pretty much a shut up and drive sort of drive there for Montana last week. Will he obviously capitalise on that tonight? Remains to be seen. Your own Rudy rounded off the top 5 as well. Your Dream Router, Nathan, Wolvercott, and Rocco rounded off the top 10. And as pretty much fate, I think, now has it. Montana is pretty much got one hand on the championship. 154 points ahead, 154 points out in first. White's there in second, only on 76 points. And then we've got Connor there in third on 75, who has obviously been gaining ground in recent races. Rudy there in fourth on 67. Then a bit of a gap to Campbell, who had his best result of the season, looking obviously to try and get ahead going in towards next week as well. Izza there in sixth, Yilbeam in seventh, also on 47 points. Pease in eighth on 45, Gary in ninth on 43, and your own rounding off the top 10 on 37 points. And as I said there in the introduction, Montana 154 points, pretty much got 3 races advantage over Wouter and Connor. He can pretty much, I think, retire out on track and just give these guys at least something to think about going into next week.
The season, because that would be a remarkable record to have.
Sorry, I had you muted. Apologies. Goodness me, nobody's been even Killer Blue. I apologise to anybody that might have actually just came in on the stream. Just realised you were on mute, and I think it's probably the best maybe for your voice and maybe for your with the flu that you've got at the minute. But of course, we were saying there, Montana out on top, White there in second. How do we think, obviously, everything's going to unfold out on track tonight?
I can't believe no one got to hear my majestic intro where I was talking about my bodily fluids. No, that was it. Is said sort of Montana. He wins. You know, he's happy when he's winning. Otherwise, he's miserable, and that's the kind of mindset you need to be a champion. It won last week, back to happy bliss after the shambles of Singapore for Montana. But Connor's his only real threat. We've kind of said all the way through this season. But Connor's got this remarkable record where he wins or he doesn't finish. And I'd like a title challenge, but also I think that'd be a nice record to keep up if we go through 17 races. Connor's been here for all of them. And if he can keep that where he wins or doesn't score, that would be a fun little tidbit in LOE history.
Yeah, it would be definitely indeed. Luckily, they didn't hear your Montana and 19 other idiots out on track comments as well, which I think is what I've just repeated there on stream. So there we go. That's what he said a little bit early on as well. Let's have a look, though, at the track map in question. Of course, here around in France, 5.8 kilometres in and 3.6 mile. 15 turns around on the track. Of course, we've got the Grand Prix layout here tonight, not the 2,500 layout, of course, that this track actually has in terms of how absolutely ridiculous, I think, this testing track, or was testing track, now Formula 1 track, of course, here in France, is. 2 DRS zones, of course, one down, Le Mistral straight in towards turn number 8 at the chicane node, and then, of course, one down the start finish straight in towards turn number 1. Has had a bit of a history, France, for producing good races, of course, sprint and feature race tonight. How do we think the guys are going to get on out on track with both races on the line?
One of those weird tracks, Paul Ricard, because it is awful. It is a shocker in real life. It's a terrible track. Always throws up a bit of spice, though. in real life. It's one of the tracks as well where drivers are prone to depleting their ERS within 2 laps, so expect to see red lights blinking away for the duration. And as you say, our second sprint race this season, I think, post patch and with the 2022 handling, this is another one of those low grip tracks where it's very easy to light up the rears. Seen a lot of spins from drivers in practice. I think we're due for a few mistakes. I mean, the walls are quite far back. I'm not saying we're going to get a safety car. I think that's a improbability. But I certainly think we could see a few minor bottles this evening, particularly coming out of the chicane of the Mistral Straight, turn 9 and turn 6 as well, and even turn 2. There's plenty of places here where you can drop your rear end. So I think even it being D1, I think we're going to see a few errors this evening.
Yeah, I honestly think we might get a potential safety car right on track, actually, because I've commentated around here on this game before, around here in France. I think it was for WOR, if I'm not mistaken, a few weeks ago, or for the Shazoo Racing Championship. It was some commentary that I've done, obviously being very busy with other commentaries. But France is one of those tracks on this game where, if you're not careful, you are going to really not be liking this track at all, especially the curbs. As we mentioned there, the chicane node at turns 8 and 9. I've seen crashes through there. I've seen safety cars produced from that corner as well. So obviously we'll have to wait and see, of course, as we now load in towards our screen. Of course, one-shot qualifying to come first, and then the sprint and the feature race, of course. I'm just trying to get a little bit of facts going, by the way, in terms of when we last came here in France. I think it was season 7. The last time we came here was last season, and the race winner that day was Connor, who took the win. Justas in second, Campbell in third. Given that no Montana was actually on the grid last season, of course, Connor out on top last season. Justas and Campbell. Justas, I believe, is not here tonight, so that's unfortunate. Campbell is, though. So obviously you've got first and third from last season. How do we rate their chances coming into tonight as well?
Well, I've got some insider knowledge for you coming from QVR. Campbell and Verstappen are running what can be described as terrorist wings. Although I don't know if they'll be running them anymore. I know they were running in the realms of 9988 wings. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore because, as you can all see on your screens, the heavens have opened.
I think it's going to be full wet as well. Full wet, one-shot qualifying. How on earth the gods have turned against our drivers here in LOE. I think it might be, is it the second qualifying I think we've had this season potentially that has had some form of rain actually involved in it, which is going to be quite spicy indeed. One-shot qualifying is about to begin, though. We will take you on board of whoever we get given on board with, and we're going on board with, unfortunately, it's Hyper that we're going to go on board with. So Hyper on the run down in towards turn number 1. Full wet compounded tyres on for the guys out on track. Coming through the left-hander of turn number 1, then through the right-hander of turn number 2. And Hyper, you can already tell, is struggling. I'm just going to turn the overlay, by the way, down on the right-hand side of the on the right-hand side of your screen. So I just realised we're a little bit too big, and in fact the other ones are a little bit too big as well. So I'll turn them down as we go along. Montana right on top is the second match there, and third P's Conor Maledictus have all retired at the start of this one-shot qualifying session. Hyper through the first sector, 26.9. Nathan another one to retire. So these wet conditions really not being affected by guys out on track. We'll go further up the field though. I'm going to quickly ride on board if I can with Izza. I'll go on board with Izza. I'm not going to go on board with Montana. Coming through the left-hander now over the chicane, the Ferrari in toward the end of the middle sector pretty much. Now to the right-hand return number 9, and then of course up the hill into the right-hand return number 10. A little bit scrappy actually coming out of turn number 9. New building, by the way, off to the right-hand side there on the run up the track. As Izza now comes up with a 58.1 in the middle sector. He's third currently, the Singaporean. Of course, be used to rain in Singapore. 2017, of course, was an absolute godsend, I think, in terms of the racing around there. Montana out on top, Rudy in second, Mike's third and third. Izza now coming to the right-hander of turn number 11, and then to the left-hander now of turn number 12, and then in towards the corners I can actually pronounce on this track as well, through the left-hander turn 12, then to the right-hander of turn number 13, and then in towards my favourite 2 corners out on the track, just because I can pronounce them, Lack through turn number 14, and Pont coming through turn number 15. You can Google the English translations to the corner names, as Montana is out on top, and I think he's probably going to go maybe a second quicker ahead of everyone else, I think, on the run to the line here. Izza on the run to the line is going to be second. Oh, and it's nearly a second clear. Montana out on top of 44.2. Is the second, 44.941. Rudy only 500s up there with a 44.991. But Montana out on top, king of the wets, king of qualifying.
He's lived up to the hype that man had at Imola, didn't we? We saw under that safety car restart at the end, he pulled away by 8 seconds in 2 laps, and he's found 7/10 in this one. I wasn't bored with Montana. It wasn't perhaps as calm and controlled as you might expect. He had a couple of sketchy moments, nearly dropped it twice between turns 12 and 14, that sort of long arching right-hander, but you take that away from him. Incredible that. And is that looking really strong as well? But it's all to play for behind him. 2nd to 6th all really mixed in well.
Yeah, definitely so. Montana out on top, 7/10 of a second clear of Izza there in 2nd, Rudy there in 3rd, Campbell 4th, Wouter 5th, J. Cole in 6th, Hyper there in 7th, Commentalist in 8th position, good qualifying from him, Dylan and Verstappen top 10, then Rocco, Packer, Forza, Brendan, Coxey, who all get valid lap times in, Gary, Lolvicar, Pease, Connor, Mallard, Dictus and Nathan right down at the back of the field as we now go into sprint racing, of course, here in France, very similar to what we covered, of course, in TML on Thursday, or what I certainly covered in TML on Thursday, 9 laps racing out on track. Hopefully a race that is not going to be plagued, potentially, by safety cars. Looking at the dry conditions, though, of course, no stop strategy, potentially, for all of these guys out on track. I think the formation lap is also on as well, so we can obviously analyse the guys on their strategy compound of tyre. But, hopefully, Killer, this is not going to be a respectful thing to say, but I'm hoping there's going to be no safety cars, because I had an absolute nightmare on Thursday. 3 safety cars in the sprint race, and we only got 3 racing laps around Baku.
I mean, speak for yourself. I'd like someone who could rein Montana in, to be honest, with the advantage that man has. We have got a fully dry sprint and a fully dry Grand Prix, which is good to know, because I think D1 and rain, when it's a full wet race anyway, do not mix very well at all. Everyone should be on the medium tyres. Of course, we've got the lovely yellow Ferrari blessing us this evening. Of course, the updated Ferrari livery for their is it the brand's 75th anniversary? I'm not entirely sure, just to commemorate. But I think everyone should be on the medium tyres, and they are bar Nathan on the softs. Those tyres will not last, I'll tell you now. Nathan will be like a firecracker for the first 3 laps, and then he'll plummet like a stone in a pond and fall all the way back to where he started, because those tyres are not good.
I was gonna say maybe he'll fall like Elton John's Watford against Sunderland a little bit early on, but we drew 2-2, so I can't really liken that, to be honest. That was a weird one. Montana out on top though is a 2nd, Rudy in 3rd. Of course, formation up is on. Nathan's starting on that sort of soft compound attire. Connor, interestingly, of course, down in 18th position. Gary, Montana's teammate, of course, down in 15th position. In terms of the sprint points as well, we have got a different sprint point system, I believe, for tonight in LOE. And, Killer, you can probably run us through that, because I haven't got them on me.
Yeah, I can. It is much the same as real life, where it goes from 8 to 1, except we've got an extra 2 placings available for points. 10 points for the winner, 9 for 2nd, 8 for 3rd, through to 1 point for 10th. So, nice to remember. 1st to 10th.
Yeah, so yeah,
fastest lap point as well.
Yeah, fastest lap point potentially up for grabs as well. Montana though out on top is there in 2nd. Rudy in 3rd, blazing blue skies and sunshine here. Probably track temperature around 30, 31 degrees air temperature. Perhaps track temperature, of course, is going to be up in towards, I would think, mid-40s around here. Normally is the case around here in France. But Montana out on top is in 2nd. Anybody going to challenge Montana off the start line? Because Montana bogs down off the start. He, by the way, said as well in the comments section that it was his worst lap that he's ever done around here as well. And Mark saying Nathan is doing what I'm doing, L plan. There is method to his madness. Now, there is method to his madness, but I think there's more madness to his method, to be honest, in terms of his strategy call on that sort of soft compound attire. But quickly, Killer, anybody to challenge Montana in towards turn 1?
No, I don't think Montana quite appreciates how much he's insulted everyone else by saying that's the worst lap he's ever done, because he's clocked them all by 3/4 of a second. But Montana to win, and I'll say Campbell 2nd, well.
I'll go Montana, Rudy, and I've got to give him a little bit of a bunk up because I was speaking to him on that Friday, of course, for WR. Commentalist for 3rd. 5 lights now coming out here in France, on the run down in towards turn 1. 5 lights are on, and it's lights out, and away we go. It is very slow off the start, and Rudy's going to get him even before turn 1. And in fact, Rudy's had a better start, and he's right on the back of Montana in towards turn 1. Rudy off the line, absolutely blistering, but Montana holds the lead through turn 1. To the right-hand turn 2, it's Signe. Aza there in 3rd. Bit of a scratch wrap further down the field. There's a spinner further down the field, and that's Nathan, I think, that has round. Packer's been sent round there as well. I think in the background, there was also a Haas very, very wide. I think it was Hyper potentially that had a bit of a moment. It's 3 wide in the background. Commentator's Rocco and Hyper, I think, might have damage potentially. He certainly has damage now. He's just contacted the back there of Rocco coming through the end of the first sector. Montana leads the way. Rudy in second, Campbell in third, Izza in fourth, Wouter there in fifth. Very good start by all. Noah's Ark formation further down the field in the mid-pack with J. Cole Rocco all the way side by side. It's pretty much 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 in towards the chicane. No, Hyper on the inside line gets outdone by J. Cole, and now it's going to let Gary on the mix, and Gary's gained 4 positions up the start from 15th on the grid. He is up into 11th position, so good start there from the Irishman, who's now seeking to try and make it 5 position gains. He's on the inside line for turn number 10 through the right hand, the flat right hander at 185 miles an hour carried as Gary is going to get this job done surely on Hyper in toward the double right of turn 11, and he does. Gary through and he's into 10. Rudy on the back of Montana off the start. Montana holds the lead. Rudy in second, Campbell in third. Pretty hectic lap 1 as I think Wolvercar's made a mistake further down the field.
Yeah, I was trying to pick out something going on earlier on, but there's too much going on to remember what's even happened on that lap. Packer got tagged by someone. It wasn't his own mistake. Unfortunately, the camera angle didn't reveal that to me. Coxey's coming into the pit lane at the end of the first lap. He's got some damage. Montana looks relatively comfortable with a half-second lead, but a bit like Kota at USA, he's not been able to run away in the sprint without that car advantage that he loves so dearly in the Grand Prix. We've got some wheel-to-wheel there between Lulvercar and Brendan in turn 1. I think Lulvercar has just defended from the McLaren driver there. And look at Nathan on the soft side. He's going to have a look into turn 3. Surges up the inside. Brendan's not fancying fighting that one back on the medium tyre, and Nathan's up another place.
Yeah, Irishman outdone there by the QVR man. QVR Nathan through and he's into 17th on that sort of soft compound time. Montana, though, beginning to streak away slightly. It's 6.5 tenths the gap now on the run down the Mistral straight in towards the chicane node for the second time. Further down the field, though, Nathan now backs up his next victim, and that's Wolvercar on the run down in towards turn number 8 through into the inside line. Gets the job done. Spaniard forced out wide there slightly by the Williams, but the Williams through. He's into 16th position, and now next up on his hit list is Connor, who potentially, this is going to be quite an interesting battle. Nathan normally quite quick. Look at the straight line speed he's got. What wings is he running around the outside of turn number 10? Connor's just going to hold position, I think, but Nathan's has to use up all of that battery to try and go around the outside line, and he's used it up for what effect? Because Connor is still ahead of him, as Izza is gapping now to a second now to Campbell in third. So that is already the big cork and the boss will potentially up the top end of the field. Rocco right on the back of Commentalist as well. Hyper right on the back of Gary is going to be an interesting battle potentially as well. But on settling down once again, Montana leads the way. Rudy in second, Campbell in third. DRS is now online onto the third lap.
Yeah, the top 3 have all used up all of their ERS. Montana's got a little bit extra, but that's why it is at a drop back, because Rudy and Campbell were using their ERS like crazy. They're all derating away, and Isat's having to do the same now. You've got to be careful with the ERS here. It's one of those ones that everyone uses up front. And you can try and save, noble intention though it is, you can find yourself getting caught out as Isat nearly did, but he's kept himself in DRS. Dylan though is caught out, and he's going to be out of the DRS range as we come onto the Mistral Straight with DRS for the first time. He's going to leave himself quite vulnerable to the sniffing Alpine of Carmentalists there. Further back, look at that.
Verstappen.
Pease and Verstappen. I said he's some terrible wings. Here they are coming into good effect. Side by side with Pease into turn 8 there, and behind as well, Connor will have a look at Maledictus up the inside there, forces McLaren a little bit deep. That turn quickly turns to the inside for turn 9, and Maledictus has just got to get the traction down, and he holds on to 14th place for now.
Yeah, he does indeed. Connor, though, up the hill in towards turn number 10, looking to try and obviously get this move done on the McLaren. McLaren is ahead. He's got that 3-second penalty. He must have picked it up a little bit earlier on that too, I think. Commentators all over the back of Dylan as well, coming through this double right-hander. And now Connor falls to the inside line, and that was never going to work. And Connor's sent round. Connor is sent round, and he resets the track as well. We caught that, unfortunately, on the stream for everyone to witness. And Connor round at the right-hand return of 11. It's very difficult. An off-camber corner. Maledictus could have gave him a bit more room. You can't really force yourself down the inside there. I'm sorry. And now Connor down in 19th position has got all of that ground to make up. And I don't think he's going to make that ground too soon, because Carmentalus on the back of Dylan in the meantime, 6th and 7th, leading side by side in towards turn number 1. They remain as they are. And Connor, unfortunately, down in 19th position. Contact made. And to be honest, it was a typical Connor move. It was just a little bit silly and a little bit pedantic.
It was a little bit desperate. I think I was just kind of trying to make something out of nothing. I'm not even sure there was contact. I don't know what you were saying, but I was on Connor's T-cam. There's cool comments, another big one there. coming between turns 5 and 6. That might just leave him a little vulnerable to Rocco. Those two came to blows, of course, under the VSC at Imola. But yeah, I wanted to go to the context. I think Colin
oh my god!
Inside,
look at Commentalist! Sorry to cut you off, Killer. Commentalist through and he's into 6th.
And is that Gary as well? I think I saw was had Hyper pulling out alongside him, and then was able to defend from the hats.
Yeah, he does indeed. Sorry to cut you off there, but Commentalist, absolute god wings. He is running there in 6th position, of course. Mr. Bucket Hat, as I called him last night on WR Comms. He was wearing a bucket hat, a very funky bucket hat to say the least as well. Maybe we can get him on the camera one time in an LOE interview, perhaps. Connor on the back. Sorry, Lolvacar, I should say, on the back of Maledictus, coming through the right-hander, the double right of turn 11, and then do the the left-hander, in fact, of turn number 12. Montana still leading the way, still not getting away though. Lolvacar all over the back of Maledictus now, in towards Lackham Pont of turns 14 and 15. McLaren runs slightly out wide. Lolvacar gets the inside line through the gap on the outside now for turn 15. He might have the traction on the exit if he's lucky enough. He will get the power though down on the line, and now running down in towards turn number 1. This looks like Lolvacar's potential move. Look at the speed of the Aston Martin's running compared to the McLaren. Pulls it to the inside line. Got to give him room, Maledictus. He does, and Lolvacar dives it down the inside line through, and he's into 15. Very nicely put move that by the Spaniard. He is through, but look, the Portuguese man right on the back of him.
Yeah, Packer nearly slammed into the back of Maledictus in turn 1 there as the McLaren was getting out of some hot water behind Lolvacar. Got caught napping a little bit and nearly hit the back of the McLaren. Packer then nearly lost it himself on the exit of turn 2. He's not having a particularly happy day today, is Packer. Awful qualifying, and well, sorry, don't take qualifying. Awful first lap, and he is compounding his misery. Look, Rudy really close to the back of Montana now, and this is a double-edged sword for Montana, because now Rudy's got the DRS. He's able to start building up his DRS a little bit more as well for the closing lap. So Rudy's now got an advantage over Montana in terms of DRS and in terms of ERS.
Yeah, big advantage. Rocco, by the way, trying to get down the inside line of Dylan. Cuts him off slightly in toward turn 11, but the Mercedes forces it to the inside line. Rocco on the inside line of Dylan. This is going to be a real scrap in toward the left-hander at turn number 12. All the way around the outside goes the Mercedes. The Red Bull is just slightly offline. I think this is going to favour the Mercedes' contact on the exit of the corner, and J. Caller's not too far with this either. He's 3.5 tenths away now. Hyper on the back of Gary, getting involved in this as well, and that is a silly move, I think, by Rocco. Dylan spun in the background. Not sure if he got caught in the curve. I think it was contact though, and now opens up a whole can of worms because Hyper has just been passed by Gary.
Yeah, Gary and Hyper have been going at it for a couple of laps now. Hyper was looking really sniffing for a chance into turn the last corner, but look at Verstappen into turn 1, trying to nip his way up the inside. Got to be lucky you don't get pinched on that curve. It'll spin you right around like a spinning top. But look at the run he's got with some ERS towards turn 3. This could be fabulous racing.
Oh, beautiful.
And it is. He's up into 10th place, but this isn't over yet, because with those wings, Hyper's going to have some more downforce. But then he gets tagged by his teammate Pease into turn 5. And now the two Hasses are going at it through 6 and 7. And are they going to stay in Verstappen's DRS just about for Hyper? That might be his saving grace. But the two Hasses coming to blows as well.
And all of this is now leading to the front 3 beginning to pile up on each other as well. Montana only leads by 3 tenths of a second, 40% of ERS compared to 28%. Campbell right on the back of this as well. Join Izza, join Whiter into the fact, and we've got a 5-car train for the race lead here in France in the sprint race. Feature race, of course, still to come. And Campbell right on the back of Rudy tries to look in towards turn 11, but doesn't get the job done. Further down the field, I think Gary right on the back of J. Cole, who made a slight mistake coming out the right-hander of turn number 10 to the flat right, as there's something Pease and Hyper.
Yeah, they're side by side through turn 10. They're still going at it on this lap. Beautiful racecraft from both of them. Hyper's got the inside line. Is Pease just going to get run out of room here? No, his teammates very giving with the space. Turns to the inside through 30. Is he going to try hang this around the outside of 14 and send it up into the side of the last corner? This is great stuff from the two Hasses. Pease has got the inside line. Such a short braking zone, but he can't really send it. It's a drag race to the line. And with the wider line to the last corner, Hyper just about hangs on. But it's Pease with the DRS.
Yeah, Pease has got the DRS in towards turn number 1. Going to absolutely fly past him in towards turn number 1. Gets the job done. Pease is through, he's into 11th. Also side by side, Packer and Lolvacar slightly in towards turn number 1. They remain as they are, though, for position. Montana, though, still leads the way. Rudy in second. Campbell in third. Campbell is looking ominous, I think, in third position as Maledictus picks up another penalty further down the field. Position changes, by the way, in this race as well. Sorry, penalties, I should say, in this race. 3 for Lolvacar, 3 for Packer, 6 for Maledictus, and 3 for Forza Brendan so far in this race. And further down the field, Packer was being spun, I think, tagged perhaps, or he just got caught on the curb coming to the right-hander there of turn number 7. So that is him round. Rocco and Commentated are going side by side there as well. You can tell my voice is going in terms of this race. Unbelievable stuff. Rocco on the back of Commentated, running up the hill. Not going to be quite close enough. Jake all right on the back of this as well. So it is former Relentless driver against former Excel driver against newly crowned Relentless driver.
Got so much battling going on here. Is Jake going to try to send this up the inside of Rocco into turn 12? We're running out of laps. But this is the thing with the sprint. It's more of a... You've got to be a bit more circumspect and risk-averse because the big points come in the race. And you can really set yourself up for failure in the race if you're going to plummet down to last place in the sprint. So you've got to be a bit more measured when you move. I say that. We've seen plenty of drivers go hammer and top all the way through. Commented, doing a sterling job keeping these guys behind him as well. But our front 5, look how close Rudy is to Montana. I wonder if Rudy's feeling brave enough to leave everything for the last lap. He's not used his ERS since about lap 3 or 4. I think Rudy might be feeling confident in his own ability here, thinking, I can send this on the last lap, give Montana 0 chance to get back at me and get this win.
Yep, I think he needs to realise, honestly, that the Mistral Straight next lap around will be the time and place to go. Use up a bit of ERS, though. I don't think he's actually going to commit for the move here. He is closing in quick enough, and there's a spinner further down the field. Conor Maledictus have collided, but here comes Rudy to the inside line, in towards centre of Raider. Montana going to let him through. He doesn't. Montana actually keeps the lead of the race. Rudy with the switchback, though, and now they're side by side out of turn number 9. Out of the chicane node, and Rudy now puts on the power. That is too hard, too early, I think, though, for the Williams, and now Montana is just wetting his lips at that battery usage there from Rudy. Rudy now leads the way. Montana there in second. Campbell there in third, and Montana tries to go around the outside of turn number 11. He doesn't. 35% of ERS Montana, 33% for Rudy. Has Rudy got the pace to see this out? I think he's gone a lap too early.
I think he has. I would have done what I was just saying, is wait and have faith in yourself. Put it all on the last lap. At worst, you get P2. But, you know, if Rudy makes a mistake now through 6 or 7, he's not going to have any DRS coming off the straight. He could lose a place to Montana. He could lose a place to Campbell. Well, I say that, Montana looked very squirrely coming out of turn 15, and Montana's got to be careful here because he's far further back from Rudy than Rudy ever was from him. And look at Izat pursuing Campbell into turn 1, the Singaporean hound in the back of that Alfa Romeo. You said Campbell was looking good. Izat's looking feisty on the last lap now.
Yeah, and it's all because of that battery usage. Campbell has only got 16%. Izza's on the same, but Izza used up the battery on the run down and towards turn 1 to try and gain, obviously, that position. Rudy, though, leads the way. Montana in second. 27% of ERS, 29%. Rudy's got 27. It's slightly in Rudy's favour. I think this one's done, though, because Rudy is pulling away down the straight, down the chicane, down the Miso straight, in towards the chicane node. Here comes Wouter, by the way, on the back of Izza. The 2 Ferraris are going to be going maybe side by side in towards the chicane node. The Wouter hangs on there for 5th. And Izza there in 4th, and I think Rudy has actually timed his effort to absolute perfection, wasting the battery on the exit of the chicane node, running up the hill once again, in towards turn number 10. Montana gaining 5/10 of a second now, coming to the right hand of turn number 10. He's so much committed compared to Rudy in front of him, and Montana's still looking to try and grasp something out of this. The 2 Ferraris are side by side and behind. Izza still in 4th, White's there in 5th. No position losses, I think, further down the field. Puff on 4th to Brendan, getting overtaken by Connor, but Rudy now leads the way. I thought he went a lap too early. I think we both thought he went a lap too early. It's gone absolutely to plan for Rudy here. The L plan for the Williams team absolutely pulled it off here. Rudy now around the final corner, on the run to the line. Montana, for the first time this season, apart from Connor, has been defeated out on track by somebody else. And it's Rudy who wins the sprint race here in France. But Montana there in second, Campbell in third, and the 2 Ferraris come across the line, separated by 1/10 of a second. Izza there in 4th, White there in 5th. Just a little bit further, I think Meiser would have got him. Commences there in 6th. much improved. That lucky bucket hat is doing him the world of good. Rocco in 7th, J. Cole in 8th, Gary in 9th, Verstappen ran off the top 10. And even further down the field, Wolvercar, Dylan, Nathan and Connor all separated by a second out on track as well. We'll wait for Coxie now to come to the line. All 20 drivers will finish as well. Coxie, I think, had a bit of a misdemeanor, of course, on lap 2, and that's why he is down at the back of the field. But Rudy takes the win. Montana in 2nd, Campbell in 3rd. That's a sign of things to come in the 50% race. I think we're for an absolute treat.
Oh, that's whet my appetite for the Grand Prix no end. We've got about for the win, and that's what we wanted. It's bizarre to think Montana being Montana, he's been dominant this season. We had 2 sprint races. He's not made a mistake in either of them, and yet he's lost both of them. He lost Cota to Wouter, and he's lost France to Rudy. It's bizarre to think that Montana on pure pace has lost both sprint races. It's one of those weird little things that I wonder how he's going to manage in our 3rd sprint race, whose destination escapes me at present. I think it's Abu Dhabi at the season finale. How he'll get on there. But just bizarre that Montana, with all of his pace and prowess, hasn't managed to win a sprint race.
And look at the fastest laps between both Rudy and Montana at the end. 1400ths of a second in Rudy's favour, right at the end of that race. Brilliant stuff. Rudy takes the win. Montana there in 2nd, Campbell there in 3rd, Izza there in 4th, with Wouter in 5th, Commentated in 6th, Rocco in 7th, J. Cole in 8th. Ignore the points on the right-hand side because Gary and Verstappen also get 2 and 1 points respectively. They're in 9th and 10th. P's in 11th, Hyper there in 12th. Not often you see 8.7 seconds covering the top 12, that's for sure. Connor there 13th, gets driver of the day, all by the in-game fans. And Wolvercar, Dylan, Nathan, Forza, Brendan, Packer, Maledictus and Coxie right down the back of the field. All 20 drivers finished in the sprint race, and we go straight into the feature race here tonight. Of course, formation lap once again is on. Beautiful blue skies and sunshine. We are in for another dry race, and we are in for an absolute treat with Rudy now starting out on top. I think, though, if it's anything to go by, that 2nd position we saw, obviously, Izza off the start line get bogged down. Is there a chance that Montana could bog down off the start and then get overtaken by Izza and towards turn 1?
I'm not sure. It's not particularly a long run. It could be to do with the grid side, the side of the grid. I'm not sure if that's coded in the game. I've honestly got no idea. If it is a disadvantage there, Montana could be in a spot of bother. But I'm very intrigued with the tyre choice because historically, all season long, Monza the exception. We've seen Montana start on the medium. Most of the field go for hard. Montana runs away, builds a gap. But it's a different calculation to make when you're not on pole position. Because you can start mediums, but unless you get that perfect start, there's no guarantee you're going to be leading to turn 1. And if you get stuck behind Rudy on hard, say, that screws the second half of your race when you're on the worst tyre. So I'm intrigued what Montana's going to go through. I think he'll still go mediums, but I think Rudy will cover him off and go mediums as well. And I think those behind will go for hards. That's my mystic killer prediction. My killer instinct is about to be immediately proven incorrect.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think, obviously, we saw how Rudy's pace was towards the top end of the field there. Obviously, went on the penultimate lap of the race. I honestly thought he went too early because I knew Montana would save up the ERS on the second half of that penultimate lap of the race. And I thought he would actually try and get him. We have got a little bit of a hold-up, I believe, in the lobby. We are currently still waiting for players to join at this stage, so hopefully not a glitch. If it is a glitch, then we'll, of course, let you know. Jake, by the way, that's you in the comment section. Goodness me, I thought somebody was ill in the comment section. I've just realised it's you. Goodness me, that one's going in the blooper reel, that's for sure. But we are still waiting for players. Might be just the case where drivers are just taking a little bit longer to load in. If not, we might have potentially a lobby restart going through. J. Cole saying no countdown for some reason. Commentators saying exactly the same. And I think our drivers are being told now to ready up. And if that is the case, somebody is away from their system. And the timer, I think, will ultimately come into play in actual effect. What can we expect, though, from this race? We saw the sprint race there. If it's anything like the sprint race, obviously, we are going to be in for an absolute treat. And perhaps, Montana is going to be whittled away in terms of his championship advantage. As I think my co-commentator is currently blowing his nose or something in the background potentially there. As now, of course, we're about to get going very soon out on track for the racing once again. We'll have a look at the track map, though, in question. 5.8 kilometres and then 3.6 mile here in France. 15 turns away to now, drivers out on track. 2 DRS zones as we already mentioned, one down the start-finish straight, one down the Mistral straight in towards turns number 8 and 9 at the Chicane Nord. And it's going to be fascinating to see, of course, out on track how everyone is going to do. Peter's got a beautiful black screen, which is good to see. Nathan being told as well to restart the game, and J. Cole saying, well, it's a comment that I really can't actually repeat on the chat, but at least we know the F1 game is a little bit peculiar, as Peter's left the session. We are now ready to go, so get you back on track very soon indeed. Formation up is now on, and Rudy does lead the way off the line. The Ferrari nearly spun off the line there in the background. Interesting strategy calls further down the field. Very interesting indeed. Rudy and Montana, set of medium compounded tyres, they start on in the front row of the grid. Gary's the only one in the top 10 on that set of medium compounded tyres. Connor on a set of mediums, Nathan on a set of mediums, Packard on a set of mediums. Everyone else committed to a hard compounder strategy. Now, I have a bit of insider fact around here as well, and I know from my experience of commentating, hard compounded tyres to start off with, probably the better tyre to be on, rather than going for that set of medium compounded tyres. So, Killer, if I'm not sure if you are back with us, I hope you are.
I am.
You are indeed, which is good. Everyone starting on that set of medium compounded tyres, they'll have the advantage short term. Long term, though, potentially, they're going to be in trouble from the hard runners.
They are. The mediums here, they don't feel that great after about 8 or 9 laps. It's not like we've seen other tracks, a bit like Monza a couple of weeks ago, where the mediums can go quite a long way. They start to feel a bit iffy quite quickly. The hards are a much better race tyre, so having the advantage of the mediums to book it out in the second stint of the race will do you no end of good. Just want to give a shout out to myself. I predicted like the top 6 of strategies perfectly. But Rudy and Montana, those two, it does kill the race a little bit to start with, because they're going to run away the first couple of laps. But if Montana's pace in the Grand Prix, as it was in the sprint, and I see no reason why it wouldn't be, we do very much have a 5-way fight for this win, which is something we've not really said this season so far.
Forza Brendan has been disqualified out on track. Not sure if he was going a little bit too slow, perhaps, or just had a collision with somebody else out on track. But everyone now rejoining onto the grid. There was the view from Rudy down in towards turn number 1. It is around a 400-metre run, actually, down in towards turn number 1 here in the cast today. Montana on the right-hand side of the grid. There is his run down. Pretty much you can't really see turn 1 from his starting position. From the left-hand side of the grid, again, you can't really see it, but it is actually a bit of a clearer view on the inside line there on the left-hand side of the grid, at least. My prediction, by the way, I'm going to go Montana win, Rudy second, and I'm going to go... Do you know what? Gary for third. I don't know why I've predicted that, but the Irishman for 9th position, going to potentially be up toward the top of the field. We now get going though out on track. The 5 red lights are now coming on here in France for the feature race, and it is already lights out, and away we go. And Rudy gets a very good start, but not as good as Montana, who launches off the line. There's contact off the line, and Rudy's in the wall. Rudy is in the wall. Not even before turn number 1. We might have got a safety car. There's a VSC. VSC out on track. Rudy came across a Montana and towards, not even down and towards turn number 1. Montana on the left-hand side got an absolute great launch off the line. Rudy, though, has come across to the right-hand side, trying to defend. The safety car is now out on track. That is absolutely unbelievable. Montana, from my perspective, I was on board with him. Nothing wrong in that. Rudy came across, contact made. What was he expecting to do?
Yeah, that is 100% Rudy's own doing. I didn't see it. I always watch the starts from the midfield, see if I can catch anything going on. So I just had to quickly have a hop on the stream and have a look. And 100%, yeah, Montana did nothing wrong there. He just drove in a straight line. I think Rudy just got a little bit miffed that he'd lost the lead and tried to compensate, tried to spook Montana. Montana wasn't having anything. He just kept driving in a straight line. What has happened in the background?
Peter's got no front wing, and I think Forza Brendan might have been caught up in an incident as well. Have a feeling, because Brendan's lost a few positions, I think, off the start. He's certainly got caught up in something even before turn number 1. I think it's because everyone had to slow down for the VSC in towards turn number 1. The VSC basically came out as they reached turn number 1. So obviously, have a look at the restart. The stewards have obviously been having a look into that. That is for sure. I've never witnessed a start like that, though, off the line. Rudy... As I say, Montana, I thought he was going to get bogged down off the start. Not the fact that it was actually the position changes, or in terms of the grid, I should say, in terms of the grid positions. Montana was on the right-hand side of the grid. Rudy on the left-hand side of the grid. you stay straight in towards turn 1. It's a fine fact in Formula 1. It's a fine fact in any motorsport, even in motocross or something like that. You stay straight off the line in towards turn number 1. And unfortunately, Rudy does not see sense in that. I cannot believe what I have just seen. It is literally the rookiest of rookie errors.
I really want to see that from Rudy's POV, because I can't decrypt his thinking process right now. On P's, I've got a feeling when he rejoined the lobby or took over at the start, there was some kind of issue with him retaking control of his car, because I saw him drive into the wall and it looked very artificial inputs, shall we say. I don't think he was involved with another car or dropped by himself. I think some weird thing happened with him rejoining. And what I'm expecting to happen, goes on the mediums and he'll come back in next lap to put those hards he started the race on back on. But that's what I think P's thinking will be at, if he can indeed get in control of his car.
Yeah, we also saw pit stops, by the way, on that one from Nathan and Packer, who were both at the pit lane, both onto a set of hard compounded tyres as well. And yeah, Pease, I would imagine, would go back onto that set of hard compounded tyres. I think we might get the safety car out at least this lap, maybe. If Pease comes into the pit lane, maybe into the lap as well. Montana, though, does lead the way. Campbell in second, Mitra in third. Don't adjust your screens. It is a safety car on lap 2 after contact, not even 100 yards off the line in towards turn 1. Rudy already out the race. As I say, I'd love to see it from his perspective. I would love to get his personal account of it. It might get uploaded onto social media in a little bit, and if that's the case, we'll try and take you through it. Well, obviously, we are still live on stream. But Montana leading the way, he got an absolute launch off the start. Campbell as well got a really good launch. I think he was even going to outdo Rudy in towards turn number 1 as well. That right-hand side of the grid, very good indeed off the start, and Campbell obviously had to take avoiding action from Rudy as well. Of course, he's gained a position, as has everyone else, I think, further down the field. Coxey gaining 6 positions. That Mercedes suiting him well here tonight, gaining 6 positions. Most positions gained as well from Connor and Dylan. 3 positions gained. Maledictus has gained 4. Most positions lost. Of course, Rudy already out the race. And Pease, who has dropped down 8 positions off the start, which is unfortunate for him. Montana does lead the way, though. Campbell in second, Mike in third. We're under the safe. On to lap number 3.
Yeah, we'll get this lap behind the safety car. Safety car will come in end of this lap because Pease is back in the pits. We'll put those hards back on. Safety car will be at the end of this lap. So lap 4, lap 5, and then get the RS lap 6. Tell you who will not be a happy bunny right now. Montana will be... I mean, he'll be happy Rudy's out of the way. I'm thinking, what on earth was that guy doing? But he will not be happy from a strategic point of view. Because his whole thing is making the most of the softer tyre, running away a bit at the start, getting a couple of seconds gap, and the tyres wear less under a safety car, but they still wear. You take some of the goodness out of them, and just a touch of the advantage that Montana would have had on the mediums will go under the safety car from doing 3 laps behind it. So, and it just gives him less time to pull away from Campbell anyway. So this does play into the hands of the hard runners, much more so than it would have done Montana, who I think will be... he'll need a really good first couple of laps behind this. If Campbell stays in his DRS, it's going to be a challenge for Montana from here on in.
Yeah, definitely do indeed. Luke, by the way, in the Discord, I've just seen a very funny comment in the general chat. ABS does a lot of good in comparison to Montana's wet lap, of course, a 44.2 in the end, 4 pole position in one-shot qualifying, and of course outdone. Rudy, by the way, has just came into the chat, in the live chat, as I think the safety car is going to be coming in this lap. It's still out on track for now. I think the safety car will be coming in this lap on the exit of turn number 11. But interesting read here from Rudy. Throttle got stuck off the line, apparently, according to Rudy. Safety car is in this lap. If the throttle got stuck to the line, that could be, obviously, I wouldn't say an excuse, but it could be, obviously, a reason as to why, obviously, the contact was made. Maybe a portion, a bit of blame there to Montana as well, perhaps. Obviously, stewards will decide that instant, but an interesting line there from Rudy regarding that instant.
I don't think Montana has any reason to report it because Rudy's out of the race. If Rudy thinks it was his throttle's fault, Rudy's got no reason to report it either. So, to be honest, I don't think we'll see a steward report on that one. But when's Montana going to go?
Now.
I think he's going to go. Oh, he's gone just now before into the braking zone of the last corner. Pick up the throttle, make the most of those medium tyres. Simply lovely restart from the AlphaTauri, and he's away by 7 tenths per second.
And already trying to get heat into the tyres as well. The guys in the set of hards Montana on the run down and towards turn 1 leads the way. The side-by-side action, Connor and Verstappen going side-by-side, and Connor's just minced Verstappen around the outside. Lovely start from him. Very cold. Set a hard compound and slice for Verstappen. He's got Hyper right on the back of him as well. In towards the right-hand return number 3. With Connor already through and he's in tonight. Next up on his hit list is Gary, who's there in 8th position. The Irishman, of course. DRS, by the way, will not get enabled until lap 6. As falls to Brendan Nathan are having a bit of a hargy-bargy in towards the right-hand return number 6. And falls to Brendan Needy, send round. Needy goes for a spin. Has to cut on the right-hand side of turn number 7. To be fair, I think he's done the right thing there to get out of the way of everyone else. But he could have easily rejoined track, I think. And falls to Brendan right down at the back of the field for now. Pease as well on the back of Packer running down the straight, but nobody getting close enough further up the field. Montana now 1.1 seconds clear over Campbell, and it looks like it's only going to go one way, I think, in the first half of this race, and that is, of course, Montana. Big advantage out in front. Gary on the back of J. Cole in the meantime, in towards the right-hand return number 10, looks towards the outside line, gets flung out of the dirty air, pulling away from Connor as well, Gary, compared to that, and Dylan is also through on Lovercar in the background, so he's through and he's into 12. For now, Gary, though, on the back of Jekyll, really trying to apply a bit of pressure. Lovercar and Dylan, again, contact.
Yeah, Lovercar up the inside did a bit like Connor in the sprint. He was further alongside. He was entitled to space, was the Aston Martin. Just a bit of contact model, side pod to side pod. Lovercar did well to keep that car pointing in the right direction. But yeah, the people making moves right now are those on the mediums. It's Montana, Gary and Connor. They need to get a shift on. Montana's lead is 1.1 seconds, but he's not exactly running away with it right now, and Campbell is looking very good indeed. But his trouble is he can't start squabbling with the Ferraris. We saw that last week at the end of the British race. Campbell and the Ferrari started squabbling. If they do that, they're going to have no chance of fighting Montana. They've got to work together for this opening part of the race. Gary's looking very close there, the back of J. Cole.
Yep, he does indeed. The AlphaTauri on the back of the sister car, on the back of the Red Bull, and Britt under pressure here from the Irishman, who snaps out of turn number 6, and he's round. Gary is round. Unfortunately for him, the whole world has witnessed that spin. Unfortunately for him as well, Gary is round. There goes my podium prediction. Certainly is Packer now absolutely sails on by as well. Gary round out of turn number 6, and things never change in LOE. Gary doing Gary things.
Yeah, Gary's rear end snapping on him like Thanos there through turn 7. Yeah, I was waiting to use that one. It's done J. Cole. The world are good though, because he's now got Connor nearly a second behind him, and he was having that Irishman breathe down his neck, and now he's chilling out there, up in P7. J. Cole's turned in some good results, some good performances lately. He's looking good, and on this lap, I want to say Montana watch once again. He's only pulled out 2/10, barely even that from Campbell this lap. And this is going to start to come towards Campbell as we go on. Montana, certainly, he's not showing the pace advantage that he's shown previous weeks. I'm sure he'll do what he said at Kota and say that the ABS isn't that powerful. Miami, sorry, it was. Say the ABS isn't that powerful, but the devil you know. And we've got Gary and Pease having a drag race out of turn 15, and there was nearly contact there between Pease, just hanging the inside rear corner of Gary. We're on to lap 6. We have got some DRS to be had now, and we've got a juicy little DRS train from P5 Car Mentalist, who's heading the train once again all the way down to Brendan in P19.
Yeah, Commentalist, to be honest, there in fifth, isn't losing that much time to Izza either. He seems like he's on par. Just maybe a tenth or two slower than Izza tonight. Doing quite well there in 6th position, of course. The Alpine man, and running down the straight, and actually gaining down the straight as well. Might even be in the second, coming in towards the right-hand return number 10 at the back end of this straight, of course, down the Mistral straight as Montana leads the way. 1.7 seconds clear now. Campbell in second, Mitre there in third. Further down the field, though, Gary on the back of Packer. This could be an interesting battle between the Alpine and indeed the AlphaTauri, and the AlphaTauri cuts the inside there of turn number 9 on the run up the hill in towards turn number 10, and Gary, I don't know what wings he's running. Look at the speed he's got on the back of Packer running up the hill in towards turn number 10, and turn Packer on the back as well of Nathan, who pulls away just in front as now coming through the right hander again of turn number 11. Gary once again not putting off the Irish. I think honestly he needs a bit of Guinness potentially to try and get this pass move on at the back of the American there. Packer there in 16th position. Montana though 2 seconds clear. Campbell in second, Mouch in third. Big battle though now. Connor and J. Cole 7th and 8th.
Yeah, and J. Cole looks a lot quicker than Rocco as well. Rocco's in alien territory for him this season, up in P6. He's not. It's not a position that's been particularly familiar to him. On this game, I think the highest he's run this season was around 7th at Singapore, so he's having a sterling performance as Rocco, but very much he's got 2 much quicker drivers behind him. He's been saved a little bit by Car Mentalist's DRS, and Car Mentalist has dropped off by a few tenths on this lap. I'm surprised we've not seen a penalty pop in yet. I know it's D1, not D4, but usually you get some person whose head goes in the first couple of laps and the penalties start flooding in. Let's see, it's Connor. He's got 100% of his ERS, and he's deciding to let rip now down the Mistral straight. Look how much overspeed he's got on J. Cole. J. Cole's got some. Oh, there we go. There's the commentator. Penalty for Nathan, but look at Connor up the inside of J. Cole. They both had DRS, but Connor has so much ERS overspeed, it didn't matter. He's through into 7th place, and I think he'll dispatch Rocco and commenters quite quickly now.
Oh, and Coxey's round coming to the right-hander of the Mistral straight into the chicane north. So Coxey round, I think there was contact there with Nathan, all getting a little bit argy-bargy once again. Rocco though under pressure from Connor to the inside line of turn number 11. Beautiful move by Connor. He's absolutely smashing his way through the field at this stage. Pretty much like Super Mario smashing blocks, and he just weaved, saying to Rocco, thank you very much for that one, I'm now on my next target, and those commenters there in 5th position, 7 positions gained. Is this now the rebirth of Connor here in France? Looking very good indeed. Of course, battles of past. Anton Cordial, Joan of Arc. Now we've got NSX Connor on the back, running down into the left-hand of turn number 1. Not going to get the move done here. Interesting though, he is running very low fuel compared to everyone else around him. Commenters there in 5th, not really on low fuel. Rocco on 7th, not really on low fuel. Connor fuel light on, running a lot less fuel compared to everyone else, and that I think has helped him certainly getting these moves done.
Yeah, I'm not sure why other people aren't running lower fuel. You gain fuel back here by about 0.02 a lap, so you can run minus 0.054, minus 0.54 in theory, and still be fine. So it will give him a little boost, particularly under braking.
Oh, this is easy.
Acceleration, and this is going to be excellent. Doesn't even need the brake zone to get the move done. He's well ahead of Carmentus. Pulls that back to the right side, picks his apex. Lovely stuff from the instant.
Yeah, P's on the back of Nathan, running down into the chicane north as well through turns 8 and 9. Not going to get the move done there, though. Of course, P's won the piece of the action once again. Nathan, though, on the back of Gary, who was a bit squirrely, I think, coming out of the chicane. And look at the straight line speed of P's now going to attack in towards turn number 10 on the back of the Williams. This is full 16th and 17th position, by the way. Who said we didn't bring you action? Near contact between them both. The Haas now on the inside line of the Williams through the right-hand return number 11. This should be P's move. Nathan forced the outside line. Still now side by side in towards turn number 12. Nathan now having the advantage on the inside line. Should try and get the move done. P's loops it around the outside though, and he's got to get it clean through, I think, on the outside line. Nathan surely going to give up this position. Now in toward Lack of Quanta 14 and 15. Nathan still sticking his nose in there. Goodness me, he's a nosy little so-and-so in that Williams, but the Haas is through eventually. P's there through and he's into 16. Nathan there down in 17. And Nathan in the end, to be fair, great stoic defence. In the end though, that move was only going to go one way.
I think that was one of the battles we've had of the season. If there's some D1 post-season awards, we get the battle of the season. I think that's up there, and it's fabulous that it's the 16th and 17th as well, just going at it clean all the same. I'm going to keep an eye on Gap's leader, and I'll keep you informed of Connor's progress, because fast lap of the race for Connor, he is the quickest man on track, and he's got plenty of ERS to hand as well, as much as Montana. I think the reason why Montana started climbing.
Oh, here's J. Cole.
Campbell and J. Cole on the Stappen?
No, Rocco. Oh, contact.
Oh, no.
That was inevitable. That was always going to be inevitable, I think, from J. Cole's perspective, to the inside line. Yeah, he's lucky not to pick up the penalty there, to be honest. Lovercar on the back of Dylan in towards turn number 10. Look at the speed Lovercar's got. It's just breezing past Dylan. Throoney's into, I think, 10th position. Dylan on the outside line now still. Lovercar should get this move done. Dylan's still there. Lovercar does get the move done, though. He's into 10th position. And yeah, to be honest, you could see that one coming from a mile off. Rocco was never going to give any inch of room there to J. Cole. J. Cole was not going to give any inch of room back to Rocco. Unfortunately, two former teammates and Excel now make contact out on track, and they're now 7th and 12th.
They were having such a good race as well as that. I just saw Coxey
Gary
having a stint. Yeah, I saw someone having a stint.
That's early.
I said the mediums would go off, but they're not a nice tyre for very long. But I didn't think it'd be forcing people into the pits this soon. I'm gonna dip in race director and have a look at Montana's lap time, see if they're going off, because he's running in clean air. He started with a 33.8 after safety car, 33.7, 33.8. He's now 34.3, so they've dropped off by about half a second. The pace is still there. So I'm surprised Gary's coming that early, unless he feels like he can run a lot quicker in clean air.
Yeah, there's two certainties in LOE. Gary doing Gary things and Nathan doing Nathan things, unfortunately. He's just spun coming out of turn number 1, and now has got Coxie all over the back of him, therefore potentially the wooden spoon in 17th and 18th position as we go through this race. Of course, Gary is out behind, currently in that wooden spoon position, 13.8 seconds off. But on that sort of hard compound size, he's going to struggle, I think, to try and find any sort of time potentially on that compound. So obviously he's going to now try and put in the effort. Connor, by the way, I thought was gaining more time than actual necessary. He's 1.1 seconds off the back of Izza. He will be very lucky, I think, to actually get within DRS range here. He just looks like he's hit sort of a proverbial wall, maybe in terms of the tyres, maybe in terms of his own pace out on track as well. Coxie, by the way, through is on Nathan in towards turn number 10. I think that one is job done for Coxie. He's through needs into 17. But Connor continuing on at least for another lap. Nobody's dived into the pit lane from the front 5. I don't think anybody's going to dive in the pit lane further down the field either. So Connor there in 5th position, a second down. There was a yellow flag again. And once again, certainties in life. Nathan spun again.
This shows me right in front of me a little smart after we had a race director. I have a glitch where I cannot get out of the race director.
Oh no.
I can't change car from Gary. So I'm going to leave the lobby. I should go put them invites. I'll be back with you in a couple of minutes.
Absolutely typical from Cutmasters there, but hopefully, yeah, we will get at least an invite. Hopefully, you will be able to join back, which is good. Montana, though, leads the way from Campbell there in 2nd, Writer there in 3rd, Izza in 4th, Connor there in 5th. Nathan, by the way, is into the pit lane as well. He's going to put on, I think, a set of medium compound tyres to the end of the race. Further down the field, Verstappen and Hyper are getting quite close to each other. They're following still the comments of this train, unfortunately, could say the Alpine train as well, 2.7 seconds behind Connor, and Connor now within a train himself. He's now on the back of Izza and White, moving up the hill in towards the right-hander of turn number 10 as well. But Montana leads the way. He certainly hit the wall, I think, in terms of his pace. 3.1 seconds now, the gap from Campbell there in 2nd, White there in 3rd. Verstappen is attacking Rocco through the double right to turn number 11. Not around the outside of here, surely not from the Dutchman, but Rocco holding on to the position, holds on to 7th and 8th position respectively. Hyper there in 9th as well. Connor on the back still of Izza. Is he now going to duke it into the pit lane? No, Montana comes in the pit lane, and actually Connor into the pit lane. Don't think it was in the white lines there. I saw that, and I think he's cut completely the white line. I'm not sure if there's different pit entry in terms of the actual limits that the drivers have got. But he's certainly gone over the white line there. Montana into the pit lane, though. Onto a set of hard compound tyres. This is where we see overcut territory now become more of a factor in this race.
And unlike last week, I'm able to get back in. And so we're all good again. But yeah, overcut territory is certainly going to be a thing. We've got a yellow flag. If I get the track map back up. Who is that? Is that Packer? Packer again. Packer, say. Some things are certainly life. It wasn't Nathan's spin before, and now it's a Packer spin. It's really not looking good for the for those two QVR laps. They're running the QVR tag for the first time this week. Up front though, I wonder if it's going to, now Montana's out of the way for now, this is going to incentivise perhaps Wout to have a crack at Campbell. I mean, they weren't in DRS range Montana anyway, but I wonder now it's, you know, the psychological thing of leading the race of Wout. It's like, maybe I can kick on, have a go at try and get that P2, but I think perhaps maybe they are thinking, oh, I'm going to interrupt myself, because look at Verstappen around the outside of Rocco into turn 10. That's gutsy if he can pull it off. Rocco leaving just enough space to survive out there. Goes a little deep into 11. Verstappen will cut right back. Doesn't do O'Connor, as we saw in the sprint. Has to concede the place, but that was nearly outrageous from QVR Verstappen. Then Hyper, for good measure, sailing right towards the back of the Alfa Romeo into turn 12. We've got battles wherever you look today, all the way down the field. And I'm going to keep an eye on that gap. Montana to Campbell, it's 20.6 seconds at present.
Yeah, 20.6 seconds. He's got 3 seconds to catch on the back of Paco. It's about 3.5 seconds, in fact, I think the gap. Yeah, 3.4 currently the gap between himself and Paco. So watch out for that one as well. See how quickly he may close. If he doesn't close, it is obviously Campbell, Whiter, Izza, their sort of advantage in this race. Commented still, that Alpine train is in full swing. There's now Lolvercar, Dylan, J. Paul, Maledictus and Pease are all joining on this train as well. And Rocco is all over the back of the Alpine. There's now another spinner, that's Packer. I think Nathan again, for the 3rd time in this race, has spun. as many spins, I think, as a circus act in 2022. Rocco, though, on the back of commentators running up the hill, running up the straight, I should say, in towards the left-hander of the chicane order turns 8 and 9. Not going to get the job done. If I was in Rocco's shoes, I'd probably think about getting this move done, because commentators I know is absolutely hemorrhaging time in front. So if I was Rocco, I'd be on that EOS now, trying to gain that. Remains to be absolutely seen in the Mercedes garage. But apologies, by the way, if we did lose you there for a second on the stream. Once again, my OBS is having a little bit of a mare there, but we are back now. Hopefully, Campbell out in front, White second, is in third. We are now through the halfway stage, and the race is Hypers took the right under the rear wing of Verstappen there.
Yeah, he's liking that line for turn 12. We've done it a couple of times where he just sails, goes very deep into the corner, almost rear ends the Alfa Romeo, and then
J. Colin
tries to get it back on traction. Early stop from our harder, and J. Colin maledictus him. That is that 13.5 distance. The mediums can do that, but they will be so slow at the end of the race. I mean, we're in a dangerous phase of the race now for those people who start the mediums, i.e. Montana and Connor. If there's a safety car now, their race is, at least in the short term, absolutely ruined. So we're in a very dangerous point for Montana. He needs the guys ahead of him to pit as quickly as possible. And if I was Izat or Car Mentalist, and Rocco's gone very wide there at turn 7. He made some kind of mistake on the traction, and we've got another yellow flag. Nathan spun again. Rocco's lost it and lost a couple of 3 places in there to Verstappen, to Hyper, to Lulvercar, and running so well. It's not in Rocco's nature to challenge or to be at the front of a train. That is Rocco-esque to a T. He doesn't like being at the front of trains, and I think he would. If I know Rocco, he'd rather lose 3 places than gain 1 if it meant he had to lead an 8-car train or however many it is. So not surprised there. We've got a yellow flag, and that is Packer again. Brothers in crime, Packer and Nathan. Someone calls a safety car because it will spice this race up an absolute treat. And look at Coxey, just nipping past Packer there for 14.
I got excited there. I thought it was actually Montana that had spun rather than Packer. I kind of wish it was. Campbell speeds in the pit lane. 5-second penalty. Packer still on the back of Coxey as I'm on board with there. But Campbell sped into the pit lane. Got a couple of miles an hour over the limit, I think. Commenter, Silvercar, Dylan, Rocco all into the pit lane. So they're going for more of an undercut. Wouter and Izza on the Ferraris. Are we seeing typical Ferrari things for the front two? They lead the way. They've lost, though, around about a second and a half, potentially 2 seconds to the back there of Montana. Gap is 18.1, and the gap, I think, was around 20.6. So 2.5 seconds gain currently for Montana. And that means Wouter and Izza, yes, they're going to come out on a set of medium compounded tyres. Yes. Yeah, they're going to be quick to the end of the race. And Connor, Connor's a big snap of oversteer coming out at turn number 1. Not sure if he lagged there slightly. But yeah, Wolvercar, J. Cole, Dylan, Rocco all coming out the pit lane. If I was Wouter and Izza now, I'd split the strategies and I'd come in right here, right now. Otherwise, you're going to be 5-6 seconds down and you're not going to gain the time back.
They've absolutely got to come in as soon as possible. Otherwise, they're going to be nowhere in this race. Connor, by the way, he is undercut Campbell, Wouter, Izza, Piper. He's undercut all of those guys by pitting this early. And I said a while ago, he was 5.6 seconds behind Montana when he cleared Car Mentalist. He's now 3 seconds behind Montana. Connor, I think, is the favourite to win this race right now.
Verstappen nearly side by side and towards turn 11. Watching that with bated breath. He loves turn 11. Doesn't want to go for the move there, though. Wouter, though, I think Izza is the one that is in. So Izza, interestingly, from second position, now first, obviously, when he comes to the pit lane, but from second position, into the pit lane first. Hyper's just been in the pit lane there as well. I would have thought Wouter would have been the one to pit in first and actually gain that time back and come in, hopefully, between Montana and Connor. This is big now for Izza. These guys, the two Aston Martins, the Alfa Tauri and the Aston Martin, are coming out the final corner. Izza's going to be behind these guys quite considerably, I think, coming out the pit lane. There they are, right-hand side of the screen. There goes Connor through camera shot. Montana's already through, and he's behind Campbell as well. That is an absolute disaster for the overcut. An absolute godsend, I think, for the front three. Montana, Connor and Campbell. There's your podium position sorted out now. Izza, yes, he's on a set of mediums. 2.7 seconds. That gap is only going to increase as this lap goes on. Ferrari have pulled an absolute joker card out of the pack. Unfortunately, the joker is the one now that has absolutely worked, unfortunately, in their favour.
I don't know why Wouter stayed out. I don't know why Izza stayed out as long as he did. Wouter's only hope now is a safety car. If there's not a safety car, Wouter is going to be behind Montana, behind Connor, behind Campbell, behind Isaac. He's going to be behind Packer, who's yet to stop. If Packer tries to go back to the safety car, he could be behind Coxey as well. He could fall towards Carmentis if he stays out for too long. I presume he's going to be in this lap, but you know, I think he's going to get undercut by Isaac for sure. As he goes very wide for them. I just don't know why they stay out as long as they have. Their only hope was, the only reason you stay out late is, like I say, for a safety car. But, you know, I know we had one at the start, but because the walls are so far back, we don't tend to get them. You can drop it at the exit of turn 9 and plough it in the wall. But, you know, with my experience, we don't get them too much, but we'll see where Wouter comes out with it.
Yeah, you are cutting out there slightly. I'm not sure if your voice may be telling in terms of the tones, but you are cutting out there slightly. Wouter, though, is going to be behind. I think Izza coming out the pit lane. He's out of the pit lane. Ahead of him for now. I think, though, Izza's going to be the one that is ahead by the end of this lap. Campbell and Connor, by the way, side by side, leading towards turn number 1. Connor there on that set of hard compound tyres. Campbell, that 5-second penalty, obviously overreaching him in terms of his performance out on track tonight. So obviously overhanging him in terms of this. Montana, 2.7 seconds. Clear Peas, by the way, is going, I think, for the proverbial 18th position here tonight as well. He's right down there in first position at the minute, but he will be right down, I think, at the back of the field, maybe going for a set of soft compound tyres. Here comes Campbell, though, on the back of Connor. Absolutely whips on by the Alfa Romeo. Don't know what wings he's running. Campbell Throoney's into third, Connor there into fourth, and Izza, as I predicted, by the end of this lap, is Throoney's also into fifth, as I think Izza is slightly lagging on my end as well. Wouter, though, back behind Izza, and for the first time now, Izza and Wouter, they've got a race on their hands, and have got 2.9 seconds to catch. I don't think they're going to catch it too soon.
I don't think they are. I think they put themselves in no man's land here. They might close up to Connor a little bit, but by the time they catch, their tyres will have wilted and suffered, and they'll be struggling for pace. This is an interesting dynamic now we've got for the win, because Campbell, he's got the 5-second penalty, which we shouldn't neglect, but at least on track, he's the quickest of the net top 3. He's going to drag Connor with some DRS with him. Campbell is taking 4 seconds time this lap. He's going to take some more time. And what have you seen? Oh, there's Coxey and Lolvacar there.
Commentator's broke into the back. Coxey was braking too early, I think, for the corner. And Coxey now getting out of the way, I think, of everyone running down the straight here. He gets out the way to the right-hand side. But Commentator's went in the back there. I would not be surprised if the Alpine has got damage on that right side end plate. And in fact, he does. I think that right side end plate damage, I think, is missing a winglet at least. I can't really see on my camera angle. He's actually missing, I think, a winglet on that right side end plate. He's got some form of damage off that. And if not, then I'll be very surprised, because that's obviously affect his confidence, obviously affect his rhythm that he was in. And he's got Lolvacar, Hyper, Verstappen, Jacob, Dylan, Rocco, Maledictus, Gary, all over the back of him in this train. As Coxey now gets out the way for everyone else. Oh, and he nearly makes contact, actually, with a Red Bull when joining on track. Hyper on the back of Lolvacar catching commenters very quickly indeed in towards the chicane node. Aston Martin sent it down the inside line. Alpine gives him the room on the inside line, but Lolvacar, I think, is going to absolutely hammer this around the outside line. It's not. It could be 3 wide up the hill in towards turn number 10. Hyper's got more ERS than these guys as well. He's in the double toe. Comments on the inside line. Lolvacar on the outside line. Through turn number 10 we go. The Ferraris are nearly going side by side in front as well. But Hyper now to the inside line. Lolvacar falls on the outside line. Comments hangs on to the position for now. More contact slightly between them both. Hyper still on the inside line, but it's still side by side coming in towards turn number 12. This is absolutely remarkable. The Aston Martin on the inside line. The Haas is still there though. Still there, Hyper. And Lolvacar, they bang wheels on the exit of turn number 12. Now through Lackham Pont at 14 and 15. Jacob and Verstappen are going side by side. And that is a beautiful move by Hyper. Down the inside line. Gets the job done. Cheeky as you like. Gary and Maledictus, in terms of their battle, were brilliant. But Hyper and Commensus, and I think that battle has just topped the whole lot. That was absolutely incredible. Commensus hangs on to the position. Hyper Throoney's in tonight with a late send into the final corner.
That was amazing all round, but Carmentis is really struggling to keep these guys doing a noble job with the situation they're in with that damaged front wing. Coxey, just to give put context there, I think will have a damaged rear wing, which is why he's letting everyone go at turn 7, because that rear end would not stick. And look, Carmentis can't get the car turned in through 7
easy.
Towards 8, and here we go with Hyper as Wouter passes Izza up ahead for P5. He's regained that lead Ferrari position, but here goes Hyper. I think he's going to get this done. He is. Carmentis will have to brake a little bit early to get that car turned in.
Watch out for Lolvacar, though.
Alpine is really labouring. Here comes Lolvacar on the exit. Got a little bit of ERS to use as well. Is he going to pull to the inside line of turn 10? Doesn't quite have the overspeed. He's going to have a look. Is Cummins giving with the space? Not far enough alongside his Lolvacar, but my word. This Carmentalist is damage. He's giving us some cracking racing, and Lolvacar's dropped it all by himself. There was no contact behind, but there was some contact with Dylan. Dylan's been punted round by, I think that was Rocco possibly. And Rocco and Gary are side by side through turn 12 towards through 13, through 14. And I think Gary's out ahead. He is just indeed. And Rocco's got some damage. He hit Dylan. So Rocco damage into the pits. Coxie as well.
Yeah, good spot, actually. I thought he actually didn't have damage there. Pease is being helped out all this as well. He's not going to be in 18th position. He's now going to be, I think, on the border edge of the points by the end of this race. 13th, 14th, 15th, in fact, coming out the pit lane as far as Brendan Lolvacar, of course, spun. I thought, honestly, Dylan made a very similar mistake. I didn't see an actual contact. I think it was because of the ghosted car there of Lolvacar, but a really good spot there by you. Pease there in 15th, Rocco down in 17th now as a result. Coxie there down in 18th. He's now gone to a set of soft compound tyres. Montana and Campbell, by the way, 1.8 seconds now for the lead of the race. It was 2.9, now 1.9. Campbell has gained a second over the last 3 or so laps, gaining around 3/10 advantage at this moment in time. But the big disadvantage is he's got no ERS. Montana has got 40% out on track, and Connor in behind has got 27%. If I was Campbell, I'd be willing to try and get recharged like either Rangers or Celtic in their Scottish Premiership title fight.
Indeed. Campbell, who he needs to watch right now is Wouter. Wouter's 3.2 behind Campbell. Campbell's got a 5-second penalty. He doesn't need to worry about is that anymore. But that's 3-second penalty. Is that safely out of Campbell's penalty window? But yeah, Campbell's big threat is Wouter. Who's going to be on the podium out of those two? Wouter currently second in the championship, leads Connor by a point. That's going to swap round after this race as it stands. But I think our real battle is for that third move. Is it going to be Campbell or Wouter? Campbell is catching Montana, but the rate has just dropped off a little bit the last couple of laps. I'm thinking...
Or Hyper on the back of Packer in towards turn number 1. I don't think he's going to get the job done. I thought he was going to go around the outside line there. Doesn't get the job done. Packer stays 6th, Hyper 7th. You can continue on.
I don't think Campbell's going to make it for the race, although he's going to finish with. Packer, though, he's having an adventure of a race. It's like a bit like the start of Hobbit, so building a back and going into adventure. That is Packer's race. And he's
there he goes.
Adventure, exploring the outside of the track in all of its extremities, wandering round turn 7.
10-second penalty.
7, 10 seconds.
There you go.
It is Packer going to come into the pit as well and hit that ball button.
Oh, Jekyll! Jekyll on the outside line of Verstappen and towards the chicane. No, it's already cut you off. The Red Bull around the outside line has gone too deep, shooting into the corner. Verstappen gets the up and under back on him, and Alfa Romeo's back ahead. So Verstappen there through, and he's into 8th. Jekyll into 9th, though. Jekyll is up for the fight on the run up the hill and towards the right hand of turn number 10, as Lolvacar, I think, has spun in the background.
Oh, why couldn't he go into the wall and give us all the safety car? Verstappen's, though, his wings continuing to come into good effect here. I don't know how low they are exactly, but they are working an absolute treat. We're still... It feels like everyone's had a spin or something at some point, and we're still getting these amazing wheel-to-wheel battles. When we've got a random one between Brendan and Pease that's brewing in the background. Pease is on soft tyres, and we've got Dylan passing Packer. Packer's just still trundling around off the track. He is to retire, and yeah, Campbell not catching Montana anymore. Jack's still at 1.7.
Maledictus on the back of Jekyll and towards turn number 1 as well. Not quite close enough. Pease on the back of Falls of Brendan. Not quite close enough in towards turn number 1 either. But yeah, Packer into the pit lane. Trundled his way in. Left side end plate damage on the car, which is why he picked it up, and that's why. Obviously, I don't know where he picked that up, to be honest. It must have been from that spin and having contact potentially with Dylan. I wonder if that's what happened. When the ghosting system failed, Dylan got caught, and then Packer lost his left side end plate damage in terms of the both spinning out on track. So, maybe, I don't know. Montana, though, leads the way from Campbell in 2nd. 1.7 seconds over the gap. Connor there in 3rd. Now strung out like a washing line for the top 4 or 5 positions, as Izza was on the back of Wouter there in 5th. Verstappen on the back of Commentated. It was a sideways moment, I think, there from Jekyll. Slightly as Maledictus tries to get up the hill in towards turn number 10, but I think everyone's just keen to run in the positions for now and run on the DRS trains for now as well. These guys are not careful though. They will have P's on the back of them before the end of this race. If those tyres go, there's a yellow flag in sector 2 and 3. I think that was Lolvacar that had slightly spun coming to the chicane node. He has got back going again though. And now all aboard the Commentator train once again. Hyper pulls away from Commentator, and Commentator now 7th position, doing a phenomenal job. His best race of the season by an absolute country mile. Verstappen, J. Cole, Maledictus, Gary all over the back of him. 5-car train for 7th.
I don't know how Carmen is managing to keep these guys behind. You have no downforce on that Alpine at all. I say, keeping them behind not for much longer. There goes Verstappen with his terrorist wing into turn 1. He's got no downforce either. That's probably why Carmen could keep him behind for so long. But drops to P8. J. Cole is next up. I think J. Cole will probably get that move done. But he needs Verstappen to pull away from Carmen. That's the problem. DRS trains abound in this little battle. But look, speaking of battles, look at Connor up the inside of Campbell into turn 8 there. And Connor's through at the expense of a penalty. He didn't need to make that move. I know he wants to challenge Montana, but Campbell had a 5-second penalty. He could have been a bit more patient there.
He could have been, but he's still going to be ahead, of course, in terms of track advantage. Commentator's overtaken by Verstappen, trying to get him back in towards the chicane node. Doesn't get the move done there. But yeah, Connor now through and he's into second. And now this is going to be interesting because Montana, for the first time in this race, is just looking under a little bit of pressure. Connor on the same strategy as him, on the same tyres as him, pulling away from Campbell. Campbell is done in terms of those mediums. They've just overshot themselves, I think, at this early, even at this early stage in the second half of the race. Even though we're 4 laps away from the end of the race, Campbell now looks like he's struggling. The big advantage, though, for Montana is that gap, 1.7 seconds. Connor, if he is not careful, Montana, he could get a little bit too belligerent. He could get a little bit too cocky, and then lets Connor back into that slipstream, back into that second, and then Connor, you know what we've seen from him in Miami, you know what we've seen from him in other races this season as well. He will be up for that fight. There will be no team orders between them both, and the Aston Martin and the AlphaTauri. Long may they live in terms of the fight, I think, that we were about to see, hopefully in the next 4 laps or so, if, and only if, we don't get a safety car. It's been very good, though, in terms of the no safety cars, apart from lap 1, obviously. No safety cars out on track. J. Cole once again, all of the back of Commentators coming to the right-hander of turn 7, then to the right-hander again of, through the right-hander of turn 6, through the right-hander of turn number 7, the left-hander of turn number 7. Lolvacar picks up a 5-second penalty. He is speeding into the pit lane and he is retiring out on track. Lolvacar now going in the record books potentially as being the man who didn't cause a safety car here in France.
I was ready to dip into the race director then and have a look how many warnings Montana has, and I remember.
No, 2.
Wouter, Campbell. Now we've got a direct line of sight on the infield between those two. It's very interesting watch seeing it to and fro. Wouter has such an advantage through the corners and then on the straights, with Campbell being in Connor's DRS and having those super skinny wings, just gains it all back. That's going to ebb and flow, I think, for the rest of this race. Campbell is being saved. We've got a yellow flag. That's just Lolvacar coming out of the pit. Flashing away there. But yeah, so a really interesting battle we've got now between Wouter and Campbell. Campbell's got the straights. Wouter has the corners. It's about whose tyres hold up the best till the end, I think.
Yeah, with a 5-second penalty, though, that Campbell's obviously got on him, Wouter, I think, is going to get this position no matter what, unless he makes a...
3 in it.
Yeah.
3. Ignore everything I just said.
Yeah, he sped into the pit lane, remember, unfortunately for Campbell. Connor, by the way, nearly inside of a second on Montana. And in fact, Commentators has gone round, coming to the right-hander of turn number 2, I think, on the exit of turn number 2, that is. So Commentators is round. His best race of the season has now gone up in complete and utter flames in terms of that. Packer was retired out on out in the pit lane, I think, as well. I think that's in the pit lane. Yeah, Packer has retired out on track. Connor 1.3 seconds. I was going to say Connor was nearly within a second, but Montana pulled away down the straight. He's got no ERS. Connor's now got the advantage, though, of more ERS. He just now needs more pace than the AlphaTauri. So far, it's pretty stable between them both.
Connor's got a pace advantage. Makes you think what this race could have been if Connor didn't invalidate in his one-shot qualifying. Everything that's happened since has kind of stemmed from that moment, that we didn't really realise how consequential that would be in the end. 1.2 seconds is the gap. Montana has got no ERS left. He's going to be red flag blinking away for the remainder of the last 2 laps. Just 2 laps to go. I think Connor can get in that DRS, but is he going to be close enough to challenge on the last lap?
No.
Even on track, I think he'd need a mistake from Montana for that. And they're not particularly forthcoming, are they? Mistakes from Montana. We've seen one all season at Singapore at turn 5. Other than that, he hasn't really put too much of a foot wrong.
Yeah, so far, I think it's not going to end up like Miami, like Montana, obviously, well, not backing off, obviously, on the back of Connor. It's 1.2 seconds now, 1.1, and do you know what I've just said there? I think it's going to come back to bite me on the bum cheeks, potentially. It's now a second, once again, between the gap of Montana and Campbell. Montana, I should say, and Connor. Campbell is within a second as well on the back of Campbell's on the back of Connor. I'm getting confused with my C's here tonight. Montana leads the way, Connor in second, Campbell there in third, Commentated retires into the pit lane as well. For 24 of those 27 laps, I think, honestly, it was his best race of the season. He should take plenty of credit and plenty of advantage, potentially, as a result. Montana, though, and Connor, no ERS for them. Campbell, no ERS. Everyone now good in it. Nathan, I think, is going to retire insta-quickly. I think they're wanting an early bath, potentially, in terms of, I'm not sure if Fall Guys is going to be happening a little bit later on a GTA, perhaps. I don't know what's going to be happening in the LOE crew. But what I can say for certain is, I think Connor is within DRS range of Montana going on to the final lap of the race. It's 8.5 tenths of a second coming through the DRS second zone there as Montana now leads the way. 3-second penalty for Connor. It could get removed by the stewards. I don't think it will, but he's now on the back of the final 5.8 kilometres of beginning here in France.
It depends where he picks those warnings up. He might have a go for it. What are you seeing? Sorry.
And Nathan's came out of the pit lane ahead of Montana, and Montana's going to get the free DRS. If Nathan doesn't get out of the way here, he's going to get the free DRS on the back, as long as he's within a second, on the back of Nathan. This is absolutely unbelievable.
Never thought I'd see Nathan helping intentionally or otherwise NSX Montana, who is going to get the DRS.
He doesn't.
I'm sure
of
it.
He does.
He does. And that saves him. Connor would have had this race on track at least. I think he would have got the move done. He's gaining anyway. He's running lower wings than Montana. He could have had the slipstream, the DRS, but Nathan has saved
out the
Montana.
way. Yeah,
and
Nathan
he gets out of the way far too late.
He does, unfortunately. Connor on the back though, Montana running up the hill once again into the right-hand return number 10. Nathan gets a 10-second penalty, and I think, to be honest, that's karma for his involvement there with that DRS from Montana's perspective. But 5/10 of the gap. I think Montana's going to have this one out on track. Connor, I don't think, has got the pace to the middle part of the lap here and through the final sector. Jekyll and Verstappen, by the way, are going to be side-by-side in towards turn number 10, I think. I'll cut back to the leaders shortly, but Jekyll on the back of Verstappen, right on the back, coming to the right-hander now of turn number 10. Not going to go for the move in towards turn 11, I don't think. They're very respectable to each other. Watch out for that battle as we go along. But Montana now, round the final corner. Connor chained a late move into the final corner there, but Montana on the run to the line. The king is back once again. Montana wins from Connor there in second. Campbell there in third, will not be third because Wouter, I think, gains third position. He does indeed in terms of the penalties. Campbell there in fourth, Izzo there in fifth. Jekyll and Verstappen still having a hammer and tongs battle coming out the final corner on the run to the line. Think this is going to be Verstappen's battle, and indeed it is. Verstappen gets seventh, and in fact gets sixth because Hyper has got a penalty. Verstappen there in sixth, Jekyll in seventh, Maledictus in eighth, Hyper there in ninth. Falls of Brendan to the line with side by side with Pease, and he's finished there in P10. Gary in 11th. Unfortunately for him, my prediction happened a little bit earlier on. Dylan there down in 13th, Rocco in 14th, Coxie there in 15th. Montana, though, takes the win. Connor in second in the end, Wouter in third. Tell you what, without a 3-second penalty, Connor and Montana, one more lap in this race, could have just decided it, as I think Coxie now has pretty much had enough in terms of those softs.
It would have been a spicy little battle, wouldn't it? I hate it when you get these 3-second penalties. It's good that it stops people corner cutting and abusing track limits, but it can really take the sting out of it. I remember I commentated a D3.
Oh, Rocco's DNF'd!
And Rocco has DNF'd before the
How's
line.
he DNF'd there?
And we've got Coxie doing some donuts. But I commentated a great D3 race here between, I think, Old School and Miami when they were going for the title, and there was a 3-second penalty in it. It just completely took the sting to the battle. And it ruins our enjoyment a little bit. You still get some great on-track action. It feels a bit shallow. It's just a shame that Connor had that penalty. I would have loved to see those two go out. They gave us a great battle at Miami. They've given us a great battle all season when they've been up there.
Yeah, fantastic racing. hopefully, Connor gets driver of the day, by the way, more betting game fans. Yeah, to be honest, I think, honestly, he will be going forward, I think, as one of my driver of the days, certainly in terms of the vote taps after this race. Certainly a good performance there from him. Montana, though, can't really call him the King of France. He didn't win last season, of course. He was in the comments box with me, but he does take the race win out on track in the feature race. Got outschooled by Rudy in the sprint. Now back in the feature, and Montana to the top step of the podium once again, blowing kisses to his adoring fans. I think he's only got about 2 of them, perhaps. But Montana to the top step of the podium, finishing in second, of course, is Connor, and finishing, of course, in third in the end is Wouter for the Ferrari team in terms of the penalty. That was picked up, of course, by Campbell. I think he dropped down either to 4th or 5th position in the end, which is unfortunate. As I say, 5-second penalty that could get removed. 3-second penalty, though, for Connor. I don't think it would have mattered, to be honest, towards the end of the race. That is for sure. But Montana does take the win. In fact, there are the full point standings. Obviously, add a few more points on to a few of these guys. So Montana, 34 points in the end. Wouter in the end as well has gained, I think, 19 points. That's all right. Connor has gained points for fastest lap as well in that race. So obviously getting 19 points. Campbell there in 18. We'll run through the full race results, though. There are the sprint results. Oh, I can't get to the sprint. I can't get to the race results.
If you press
my R1 stuff.
And then R1.
Oh yeah, there we go. Montana takes the win. Connor in second, Wouter in third. Campbell is a Verstappen, Jake O'Malley, Dictus Hyper, Brendan, Gary, P's top 12, Dylan, Coxey, Rocco, Nathan, commentators, Paco, Lovacar and Rudy in the end, the 20 drivers here in that finishing order. Nathan, by the way, just to throw a little bit of spanner into the works, 21 seconds worth of penalties at the end of that race from Nathan. 10 of them, of course, he got, I think rightfully so, for giving cheeky DRS on the final lap of the race there to Montana, and to inevitably make him win the race, even if Connor didn't have that 3-second penalty. I'm not sure if you do want to do interviews tonight. I know my voice is struggling. You've got the cold, so might be a bit of an excuse not to do them tonight.
I'm happy to shoot off because I'm feeling a bit rubbish. But if you want to do them, we can stay.
See if anybody is in. Oh, Montana is in the waiting room, right? So I think we're obliged to possibly do the interviews, I think, tonight. We will get then Montana into the waiting room. I'm going to bring him into the right chat. There we go, indeed. And it is... Can we call him the King of France? I don't think we can, but in terms of the performances tonight, Montana well and truly once again out on top, taking the feature race win. First of all, though, talk us through that sprint race, because in the end, you came up against Rudy, and Rudy, to be honest, took you to the cleaners, I think, in that sprint race.
This week I had no pace. I don't know what's going on. So the wet quality absolutely saved me, and I don't know how I got pole with that lap. I was drifting the last sector, so that's weird, but we take it. And yeah, Rudy was just quicker. He was just quicker. I couldn't do anything. And yeah, also in the main race, I just had no pace, so I run really low wings.
Yeah, running very low wings, I think, actually saved you, I think, in terms of the racing out on track, certainly. Connor catching you towards the end of the race as well. He had that 3-second penalty towards the end. How would you have seen that race play out if it didn't have that 3-second penalty and if there was a few more laps?
Well, I don't know. He got up 6 seconds to me over the race distance, so one more lap and I would have been gone. And I could have defended this last lap. I was also on 2 warnings for quite a while, so I had to be careful. But the wings obviously helped me then to defend, and I had somehow just a perfect amount of laps to bring it home.
Yeah, definitely so. And obviously, in terms of your points, I think you gained 34 points over both the sprint and the feature race in the end. Looking forward to the rest of the season, because obviously we're going into the second half now. We've got Australia next week. How do you think you're going to get on around there? Is it a track that you like? I don't think it is, though.
I hate it, especially the newer version. And the issue also is I'm now away from today onwards until Friday evening next week. So yeah, I will have absolutely no practice. So just gonna probably gamble on practicing wet conditions and skipping the dry. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes indeed. Maybe in terms of the practice. Are you going on holiday, by the way? Or is the NXX boys coming over?
No, unfortunately not. Yeah, I'm going to the south of France, actually, quite fittingly.
Nice. Go and sun yourself in the week that you've got to Australia, and then of course we will see you hopefully down under next week in Australia. Good luck with the holiday, and go and enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Yeah, it'll be weird to be outside for a while.
You are very welcome, though, indeed, for the interview. I'm just going to have a look in the rating room to see if we have anyone else. We don't. I think everyone might have had to rush off. Montana certainly had to rush off there. And many people in the chat saying about their wings. P saying nice spin as well. And Rocco saying I would have been esports, but the cameras weren't on. Unfortunately, I don't think he would have been secretly esports even if the cameras were turned on him like tonight, unfortunately. Killer, I believe you are still here. Australia next week, what the drivers look forward to?
I don't know, I've not driven Australia too much on this game with the revised layout. It's much more high speed now. Couple of changes. Turn 6 is very different. The entry into turn 11, I want to say now, very different. I don't think it's a particularly high grip track so as well. Like today, I think we'll see a lot of slipping and sliding. And the walls are a lot closer. Street circuit feel. I'm hoping we get one like Singapore, personally, because if we can have Singapore every week, that would be great. But I think Australia will throw up a treat. And if Montana can't practice or hates it, if we can have a battle like we had today, that would be fab.
Just going to put it on the line now. Rudy's going to win next week in Australia because I know he is very, very quick around there, and I hope he comes back to his best, obviously, after getting Throttle stuck off the line, which was very unfortunate indeed. But in terms of the calendar, Hungary coming up after Australia, of course, in 2 weeks' time, then Azerbaijan, Belgium, Austria, and then we go on break week, not to the south of France, like Montana is affording the luxury to. Spain on the 5th of November, and then Saudi Arabia, Brazil, and then Abu Dhabi to end off the season, which should be very interesting indeed. Looking at the lineup that we've got, of course, coming for you later on tonight, J. Cullen Verstappen, and once again in for Division 2. Division 4, it is Packer, and I think Maverick is unavailable, so I think it's going to be Packer, hopefully, taking you through Division 4. If there's any lag issues there, maybe just watch the Division 2 stream, because I know Packer was struggling in terms of internet connection, certainly after that race. Big thank you, though, to Mr. Killer Blue for joining me in the commentary box, as always. Hopefully Division 2 goes well. Hopefully the mucus and the flu and the bodily fluids don't come back to haunt you in Division 2 here tonight. Do not be surprised if you see him DNF, though, in 15 minutes. And, of course, as I say, 10 past 8 UK time, 13 minutes time for my laptop time to give you more action, of course. We will leave you, though, with this final image of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, of course, 70 years on the reign. State funeral going to be happening this week, this Monday, in fact, it's a bank holiday here in the UK. Of course, forever our sovereign, forever our monarch, and forever our queen. We will end it off there, though. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.